All right, this week is going to be a little bit boring, but I'm going to give you my top podcast recommendations. So there's literally thousands of different podcasts inside of iTunes, and some are good, some aren't so good, but I'm going to give you my personal recommendations. Here we go. And this is in order of my least recommended to my most recommended. But even my least recommended are still worth checking out. So I do a lot of work on the computer that's just repetitive work that doesn't require a lot of thought. So these are just nice to have on in the background. So, or while you're working out too, it's good to just put these on in the background. And it just gives you something to think about while you're doing like monotonous work. So here we go. Let's start the list. Number 17, Stuff You Should Know podcast. These guys just do a big variety of topics, and they actually teach you a lot of stuff while you're listening. The Twit Network. They have a lot of different shows. The main one I'm recommending is Tech News Today. It's hosted by Tom Merritt. He's a really reliable guy and just very honest, and he knows his stuff. His co-hosts also are pretty good. Not as good as him, but they're also pretty good. Number 15, the Pod F Tomcast. Paul Tompkins does a lot of funny voices, and it's high up on the list because it gets a little bit repetitive and long-winded after a while, but there you go, the Pod F Tomcast. Number 14, WTF with Mark Maron. He has some good guests, and there's some really funny moments, and he gets really like detailed with his personal life, and it's just interesting. 13, the Jeff Rubin Show. This is a new podcast, but it's a guy that works at College Humor, and he just goes really geeky on topics that he loves, and he's really passionate with his guests about stuff he loves. There was one episode where he just talked about pizza and pizza boxes, and it's just interesting stuff. Number 12, Freakonomics Radio. These are like, it's hosted by an economics guy who also wrote a book called Freakonomics, and they just talk about like statistics and different topics, like statistically, and yeah, it's interesting. Check it out. Joe Rogan Experience. Yes, that's the guy from Fear Factor, and some other shows, and the WWE, and he talks a lot about like the meaning of life and smoking weed, and there's just a big variety of different topics, and some interesting topics come up. This is also high up on the list because sometimes it feels a little bit long. Some episodes feel like they should be half as long, but if you listen to all of it, there are some really good moments you should check out. 10, the Adam Carolla Show. Adam has a lot of good stories. This is also high up on the list because he repeats himself a lot. So like he does 5 shows a week, so it's a lot of time to fill. So this would be a lower number on the list, but he just repeats himself a lot. But he's a funny guy. Number 9, Jordan Jesse Go. Yeah, these guys just talk about the news and like current events, and just they talk about anything they want. And they're positive guys, and they say some neat stuff. Number 8, Earwolf. This is like an entire network of shows. My recommendations are Comedy Bang Bang with Scott Aukerman. That's actually a great podcast. It's a lot of different characters, and it's like improv guys that get interviewed during the show, and it's funny. Who Charted is another one. It's like it's Kulop, Eli Sock, and Howard Kramer. just counting down the charts of the day, and they have some guests. It's good. How did this get made? It's guys like talking about terrible movies and just asking how did they get made. Affirmation Nation is just check it out. Professor Blastoff is like science stuff, and with Tig Notara, and it's just funny. Okay, number 7, Revision 3. It's another entire network. Dignation is like a tech podcast. It's about to end. Totally Rad Show is like video game reviews, movie reviews, just a lot of reviews in general. It's all good. Techzilla is a tech show. Film Riot is like film tips, and Foundation is interviews with like CEOs of up and coming technology companies. So this is actually it's a big network, and they have lots of other shows, but these are my recommendations. Smodcast is run by director Kevin Smith, who did the Clerks films and Dogma films and all that stuff. He's got an entire network also. The best one is definitely Smodcast. I would say check that out. And then Tell 'em Steve Dave is hosted by his friends who were in some of his movies. Tell 'em Steve Dave, they run a comic book store, and they're about to have their own show on A&E. And it's just good stuff. Hollywood Babylon is him and Ralph Garman talking about Hollywood news. It gets really repetitive after a while, but it's worth checking out a couple episodes. And some others. Okay, Nerdist. This is another network. The Nerdist is their main show. It's Chris Hardwick, Matt Myra, and Jonah Ray just interviewing people and just talking with each other. They're all really like positive guys. So if you're like a nerd, you'll like the show. And Todd Glass is another show. Todd Glass show is another show on the network. It's Todd Glass. He's a really goofy guy, and he just does a lot of like messing around with sound effects, and so check that out. Okay, number 4, Jake and Amir. This is a podcast from College Humor. It's just they're really short, really sketches with these guys called Jake and Amir. That's their real names, but they're just playing characters, and it's funny stuff. So check it out. They're on YouTube, so you can check them out there if you want. Number 3, Doug Loves Movies. He does like a game show with minor celebrities who come on his show, and they do like a Leonard Maltin game, and they do a bunch of different games about movies, and it's funny. And there you go. Number 2, Super Ego. These guys do these sketches. I have no idea who the guys are that host it, but I just know it's a really funny show. And it's just really funny. It's only once a month, but it's really funny, so check it out. Number 1, TED Talks. All right, this is just it's like really, really smart people who have done cool things and them talking about it. It's like them giving presentations at a TED conference. It's technology, education, something. And these are just worth checking out because like they have these really, really smart ideas about different topics, and some of them really make you think, and there's a big variety of different topics. So you should definitely check this one out. And there you go. Those are my podcast recommendations. There you go. Also, check out the Moldy Toaster podcast. And there you go. That's your tech video for the week. Sorry if it was really boring this week, but there you go.